L'Arabe du Futur by Riad Sattouf. L'Arabe du Futur. So this means the Arab of the future. Now, I actually did a video on the Arab of the future graphic novels earlier, but I didn't feel comfortable about the way that I described them, so I'm going to delete that one and put this one up instead. I described that one just as a cursory sort of like based on kind of what the back of one of them said. But the more I thought about it, I thought, I don't know, that's not really how I feel about these books. So I'm going to give you something a little bit different. I've dabbled in graphic novels, which, by the way, though when we're talking about a regular book, a novel is fiction. In graphic novels, they're just called usually graphic novels, even if they're memoirs, even if they're supposed to be nonfiction. That's the way that it's usually talked about. So I've dabbled in these things. I've got a few of them. I've got a few sets of complete stories, and some of the big ones. You know, I've got Persepolis and I've got Mouse. Maybe I've got other videos on those. I just love these so much. I can't say how much I love them, and maybe it's been a while since I've read some of the other ones, so that it's hard for me to really compare. But I feel reading these, I feel like, without being too dramatic, I've enjoyed these more than any other graphic novels I've ever read. It's the story of a young boy who gets older throughout the story. And his mother is French and his father is Syrian. They spend a little time in Libya. That's Gaddafi. They spend a lot of time in Syria. And they sort of go back and forth between Syria and France. And it's about his life growing up in these sort of, he doesn't exactly fit in France and doesn't exactly fit in Syria. His father starts as a modern person who wants Arabs like him to be more modern. He wants to educate them. He wants to bring them up away from what he calls their ignorance, really, their ignorance and their lack of education and their superstitions. But what's interesting is that while he is in Syria, while the family's in Syria, the father over time changes, becomes more religious himself, and some of his own prejudices come out about Jews, about black people, and so forth. And really, he ends up doing some kind of shocking things that I don't want to give away too much. But alongside all that, we have, this is told in the first person, and we have Riad's point of view as a child, seeing things. And the way that I've just described it does not let you know how funny it is, how sweet it is. 70% of it is just these cute little observations that he makes about himself, about other people, about the food they're eating, and the way that the streets are and the buildings are and what things smell like. He really has a lot of discussion about what things smell like. I love him. I just absolutely love him. I can't get enough. And so there's a 6th volume that's coming out that hasn't been published yet as of this date. And bad news for people who only speak English is that the English translation, they only translated the first 4. At least as of right now, they've only translated the first 4, which is, if I were reading this in English, would be so devastating, because this 4th one ends on a very serious cliffhanger. I mean, it's a true story, but like you're going, what? Sort of a shocking thing happens, and you wait, how is this going to get resolved? What happens? And if you're reading these in the English translation, that's it. That's all you get. It ends right there. That would drive me absolutely crazy. Luckily, I'm reading it in French, which is the original. He wrote it in French, and so I have the 5th volume, and the 6th will be out soon. So I don't know what to say. I almost want to say it's absolutely worth it, even if you have to get stopped on that at that moment. If I weren't able to read anymore, I would look it up on the web and figure out what happened next at least. But I would have gotten all this out of it because they're so great. So this is the size, And he writes, the colors tell you where they are. So this pinkish color is Syria, that's Libya, and blue is France. So you can sort of flip through and see where they are at any given time of that he's writing. They're all about the same size except for the fourth volume, which for some reason is just massive. It's like twice any of the other ones. And then we go back to the fifth volume, which is sort of the same size as the others. They're actually sewn in, which surprised me. But when I didn't even look at first, but when I saw the sort of the threads in there, I thought, oh wow, these are put together better than I thought, but they are paperback. Anyway, look, I can't recommend it high enough. I'm constantly stopping and reading out bits to my kids and to my wife. And I'm thinking of starting over right from the beginning again. So anyway, okay, L'Arabe du Futur by Riad Sattouf.